At the end of the game, last drive, Lamar Jackson finally, hallelujah, scrambles. But it's in a moment that it doesn't matter anymore. But he scrambles for 39 yards, and I tweeted, it won't mean much in this game, but can he bring this back more often? Bobby, as I was watching the Eagles run their run options, and sometimes Saquon take it, and sometimes Jalen take it, I'm like, where is that gone for the Ravens? Where is it? Look at this quote, Bobby. My wish may come true. Jeff Zrebeck, Lamar Jackson said his mom cussed him out after the game for not taking off more as a runner. Thank you, Mrs. Felicia Jones. Like, yes, Mom. Here's what's so interesting about this, Bobby. It's Miss Felicia, right? His entire life, who has been telling coaches, my son is a quarterback. My son is a quarterback. My son is a quarterback. He can throw, he can throw, he can throw, he can throw. That was a necessary message from Mom his entire childhood, his high school career, his college career, the beginning of his NFL career. It was necessary. But Bobby, the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction. It felt that way in the AFC Championship game. It has felt like that time and time again this season. And so if it's Mom, who we all know that he values, who has been keeping his career on track early on, I'm happy to hear that Mom is coming in and being like, listen, son, listen. If you have, what was that one? The 4th and 8 play. Now, I don't know that for sure he would have made it, but he's Lamar Jackson. The 4th and 8 play, he had green grass. Now, there were other Eagles that could have met him, but in the past, Lamar can be, who knows? He could juke guys out. He's done it all. He did it all day today. He did it on that 39-yard scramble. It's just been happening too often when there's so much green grass. And now you've done it so much, you've set up the other teams to not come at you. And so good. Take the green grass. I could not be happier for Mama coming in. And sometimes your kids just need a good chewing out, a good little cursing session. And so I hope that wakes Lamar up and helps him decide to take off more often and use those legs, because Jalen did it today. And he and Saquon played off of each other. Play off of the king and use it more often. I don't know where that's gone. I love the throwing Lamar. Love it, love it, love it. But we don't need to go. The pendulum doesn't need to swing this far. Bring it back to the middle and use all your talents to help put defenses in a bind.
Yeah, I think it speaks to somewhat of a trend that we're seeing of indecisiveness, of reluctance, of hesitance. And that's not something that we've grown accustomed to seeing from number 8 out on a football field. This was not a signature game of his. He never found a rhythm. There were multiple fumbles. There wasn't a lot of polish. Both of those fumbles, by the way, were recovered. But 6 for 15 on 3rd down. This was not an offense that was humming. Like we mentioned, at one point there were eight drives without a touchdown. I thought he was settling on 3rd down, not often, but a couple times, just kind of settling on a check down on 3rd down. I mean, that's going nowhere fast. Dave Flowers clearly was frustrated. The NFL, the CBS cameras caught him at one point on 3rd down after Lamar missed him, or didn't even throw his way, where he seemed really frustrated. You had Rashad Bateman exit this game, as we referenced, with a knee and did not return. We'll get to the Deontay Johnson side of things in just a bit. John Harbaugh had an answer about him, the newly acquired wide receiver that's garnering a lot of traction online. So, yeah, it was sort of a perfect storm tonight, but it all begins with the same exact conversation that we've had, and you already referenced it off the top. Who is their own worst enemy? It's themselves. It's the folks that look back at them when they look in the mirror. And time again, Sarah, that has been a takeaway from this team. Should we get to some super chats?
Sure, let's do it.
Brian Mee says, Tucker's at the point where he'd missed the McAfee College Game Day 30-yarder. The weekly College Game Day contestant that's picked out from a college and ends up kicking for money. Robbie says, should the Ravens say bye to Tucker during the bye week? Ryan says, we need a new coach after this season. Belichick? H-Tet Zaw says, Tucker is starting to look like Nigel from Replacements, missing extra points and 50-yard field goals, less than 50-yard field goals. Cameron Hines says, first game with Dad, who's an Eagles fan. Sad we lost. Tuck, shaking my head. Captain Hard says, I put this on Tucker only because I think people underestimate how much missed kicks affect momentum. We've definitely alluded to that off the top of this show. Aiden says, not just Tuck, the whole special teams was atrocious, as we've mentioned. Stout's kicks didn't go far enough, and the uncaught punt that backed us up against our goal line was a massive early momentum shifter. Has to change. Really tough night for Tylan Wallace, if we already haven't mentioned that. Lil X Nation says, how we perform after the bye week will tell us a lot about this team and season. We take one step forward and 3 steps back. It has to stop. Tony Trey says, what do you mean? 7 points wouldn't change the game. 7 points would have won the game. 7 points absolutely would have changed the game. I don't know if I said that, but I'm just saying yeah, you're true. That's true. The garbage time, I wasn't accounting for the garbage time touchdown. So you're right. Thanks, Tony. Mentioned a little while ago. Yeah, 7 points would have won the game with the garbage time touchdown.
And look, in the end, it's like both things are true. Like the momentum changes. I mean, you add the 7 points, you win the game, obviously. It's not always that easy. Like if there was a field goal, would have the Eagles played differently, yada, yada, yada. So either you can say, yeah, the 7 points would have won it just by the score, or you can say it changed the momentum, it changed the whole feel, it changes what offenses do, it changes what defenses do. I mean, it's 7 points. In a game this close, it's a big deal either way.
Where to next, partner?
Well, can we keep talking a little bit about Lamar? And this might lead into Saquon Barkley a little bit. But in Baltimore, we're so used to hearing MVP chants. Lamar, this was not his best day. We already talked about the scrambling. Lamar finished 23 of 36 for 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 101.3 quarterback rating. Not a terrible day. He added, obviously, the 79 yards on the ground, 39 of which came late in the game. But I think because the Ravens lost, and they're now what's the record? Is it 8-5?
8-5.
8-5. It's tough to win MVP like that. It's tough to win MVP like that. We're accustomed in Baltimore to hearing MVP chants. Well, they were there again, but the chants came from the Philadelphia fans that were there in M&T Bank Stadium. And I think he was just doing everything he and Derrick Henry normally do, which is just take a little bite at you at a time. Just keep a little bite at you, a little bite at you. But then Saquon kind of took over in the fourth quarter. Again, I think that read option running game helped a lot, helped open things up. But it was that 71-yard touchdown drive by the Eagles where it was like, okay, this is the dagger.
Got it.
And when he ran it in from 25 yards out, and Bobby, he beat Roquan, he beat Ardarius Washington, he beat Tre'Davious White. Marlon Humphrey was stuck behind a blocker. On the next drive, he knocked Roquan back, as Jonas Schaefer here points out, for about 5 yards, and got the first down conversion, and that kind of ended it. And that's where you kind of see Saquon's MVP status probably rise a little bit, and Lamar's takes a hit. Not just because Lamar's not having the stats, but I think partially what hurt that the Bills fans are still complaining about Josh Allen, in addition to his multiple interceptions, but it was that he didn't have the record that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson had. And so is it completely over? No, the Ravens can come back. He can put on a show against the Giants. And then if he were able to overcome one of his nemesis in the Steelers and then finish strong against the Browns, then, he can make some noise. But I think he took a big step back. And I think those that are saying, who care about MVPs? I'm calling bullcrap on you, because if Lamar won a third one, you would be celebrating it. And you would be celebrating it. And then you'd be laughing in the Bills fans' face and be like, MV3. You don't care about it because he may not win it at this point. You don't care about it because I know you want more a Super Bowl. I get that, but they're not diametrically opposed. Okay, you can win both. Many people have won both, and so I think it would have been helpful as we talk about his legacy and Hall of Fame career. But that doesn't matter in this moment. I know we're all mad about the game in this moment, but I call bullcrap when people are like, I don't care about MV3. You would have used it as fodder when people come at Lamar. You would have used it as part of his greatness. He still is great, but he definitely took a step back while Barkley took a step forward in that race.
And now Josh is going to have his opportunity in a snow game right now. Literally, it is pouring down snow in Western New York, and we're watching 49ers Bills right past my camera right now. So we'll keep you updated on that as we go throughout the night. The matchup that everybody was watching in terms of candidates, by the way, not just MVP candidates, Offensive Player of the Year candidates, two of the top backs for rushing title. Of course, these two were the candidates, and Saquon already had the edge going in terms of rushing yards, Sarah, and he really had the edge because they already had their bye. The Eagles did.
Right.
Saquon finishes with 23 rushes for 107 rush yards, 2 catches for 10 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Derek goes 19 carries for 82 rushing yards. He had 3 catches for 29 receiving yards, did not have a touchdown for a second straight week. Remember, last week's was, of course, wiped off the board due to penalties or penalty singular. But this was the matchup. These two have been following and celebrating each other's seasons. But right now, Saquon's in the front runner seat to be the king rushing leader for the first time in his career. Derek's earned that before throughout his future Hall of Fame career, and a W for Saquon to go along with that, Sarah.
Yeah, and I think this is where things kind of like turned in the fourth quarter, where I felt like they still finished pretty evenly. They were both from yards from scrimmage, about a little bit over 110 yards each, yards from scrimmage. Saquon obviously had that 25-yard touchdown, so that certainly is nice to have on the resume. But this is when you could feel the difference in the game. Right here, Derrick Henry got absolutely pile driven into the ground on a check down on third down. As you note on X, woof. Like, it's Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter who should be running over other people.
I did that for you, by the way.
I appreciate that. Woof.
I know it's not typically in the tone, right? It's nothing positive for the Ravens. You typically like to use it in a way that's demeaning towards another team or defeating towards another team.
It's an equal opportunity wolf. I'll give it to whoever. Yeah,
that's exactly what it was on that play, because Cooper had his big time NFL moment right there. They got a couple really talented corners, young corners,
yes,
and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and these two dudes fly around.
Yeah. Well, so there was that in the fourth quarter where they started to impose their will defensively on the Ravens. And on the flip side, around that time, that's when Saquon Barkley got his 25-yarder. And on the next play, he knocked Roquan Smith just face to face, knocked him back by 5 yards, and they got a conversion. And so that was the difference between these two. We all were excited for this matchup. The whole NFL world was like, here we go, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. And like I said, they were even for most of it. And then we get into that fourth quarter, and that's when Saquon and his team started to pull away. And then that image right there of him getting pile driven is symbolic of how that game ended. I mean, that was it. You could feel the momentum change and the physicality change.
And that Philadelphia defensive front really imposed its will, particularly in the second half. Sarah, last month, ahead of the trade deadline, John Harbaugh and company, led by Eric DeCosta's front office, went and got 2 players, one of which was Carolina Panthers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, the former longtime Pittsburgh Steeler. Since becoming a Raven, he's been used sparingly. And when Rashad Bateman leaves the game with a knee injury, you're thinking to yourself, okay, maybe this means some more snaps for Deontay until the CBS cameras catch him in a parka. I mean, this dude was bundled up on the sideline and clearly not a part of the game plan, even without Rashad Bateman. This has been the case in recent weeks as well. Maybe not no snaps. We'll have to take a look at the final count tomorrow, but I don't believe he logged 1 snap on offense tonight. John Harbaugh was asked point blank about that postgame and had this to say.
Rashad Bateman wound off the knee injury. Is Deontay Johnson available? I know he didn't look like he played.
Yeah, I'm not really ready to comment on that right now. I will be. Just don't have enough information right now to talk about that.
So, Sarah, as we covered last month, it was a total no-brainer to bring him in from a investment standpoint, being that he was essentially free.
Yep.
Right. Yet, and by the way, the numbers told you he's a man beater. He's somebody who obviously wanted a facelift and a new opportunity, a change in scenery because of what was going on in Carolina. And since then, he has not yet found his role. His number has not often been called. And really, more so than anything else, I think Lamar's 1 for 5 so far when targeting him. So there hasn't been a instant cohesion between him and QB1. But you heard from Harbaugh there. It seems like that's not the last that we've heard of whatever is happening with Deontay Johnson. And John was quoted for saying, I'm not really ready to comment on that right now. I will be, but I don't have enough information right now.
Yeah, that was interesting because when he said I don't have enough information, like usually that's the type of thing you say when like you don't know about somebody's injury. You know what I mean?
Right. Precisely.
So I don't know. But I'm guessing he'll still have his Monday morning. It's unclear with the bye week what the media schedule will be, but I think they're usually required to still do the Monday press conference. But I can't confirm that. So, I mean, he's at least promising to say what will happen. But it seemed like the absolute perfect opportunity when the Ravens traded for Deontay Johnson. We try to keep expectations reasonable, right? We were like, he's not going to see much playing time given all the other weapons from running back to wide receiver to tight end. He's just not going to have enough. But the reason why you bring him in is because A, he's free, and B, he's insurance. Because remember, right before they traded for him, there was that kind of scare with Zay Flowers. And Zay ultimately ended up being okay. And then so it's like, all right, well, now you have your insurance. It's what we've been saying since they re-signed Rashad Bateman. You need insurance. So they finally have insurance, but they didn't use them. So I'm willing to be patient and not speculate on what that could be in this moment, but count me as interested in what's going on.